The Courageous Coaching Podcast is hosted by Sophia Antoine, a certified life coach supporting women in their efforts to improve their self-esteem. Today we're talking about life, relationships, and everything in between. Take it away, Sophia.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Courageous Coaching Podcast. My name is Sophia Antoine. I'm your certified life and relationship coach. Today I have with me the awesome, the amazing, the stupendous Jackie McKeever. She is a part of the anthology project by Shannon Griffin, and you know that as The Smell of Poverty. So instead of me going on and on and on because y'all hear my voice way too much anyway, I'm going to let Jacqueline go ahead and introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Jackie McKeever. I'm the founder and director of Route to Victory. Route to Victory is a nonprofit charity created to help you learn money management, eliminate debt, and build self-reliance. So basically, we are here to make whatever your dream you have happen. And everything starts with finances. So we're building you a foundation.
Awesome, Jackie. Now that really stood out to me. You need foundations to build your dreams. How do you help women build foundations?
Okay, I do it on more than one aspect. Number one is I teach. Okay, so let me back up. So a financial coach is basically the difference between is a life coach, and the difference between a life coach and a financial coach is a life coach would be like your primary care physician, and a financial coach would be like your or like an orthodontist. It's somebody that specializes in a certain field. So what I do is I go through some of the procedures that the regular life coach would do. So I begin by building you, because there's two things that stop you from reaching your dreams. Number one is fear. Number two is you. So we have to work on building you. So we start with the mindset. As we build the mindset, what I do is I challenge you to dream, because we have to work on those stumbling blocks to get out the way. Because a lot of times, whether it's debt, whether it's poverty, or wherever the situation is, we get to the point where we're scared to dream, because we believe that, especially us women, we believe that if we were supposed to have it, we would already have it, and that's not how things work. I teach especially women to be purposeful in order to make something happen, because you already have the talents and the gift, and the door is already open. So a lot of times I do teach from a biblical standpoint, because I'm using my experience to teach. I did receive financial training. I also have a master's, an MBA with an accounting emphasis. But what I push is I teach people how to push their victory, make their victory happen. And you do that through planning. So I work with the individuals. I give them education about different financial realms. I come to them from a business aspect. That's what makes me more unique than other financials coaches, because I teach them some business techniques, because I share with you, I have a master's in business, a MBA, a master's in business administration. So I teach them how to build their business, or how to grow their business. I teach mostly sustainability, how to sustain, because I know in life, like with sales, there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And a lot of times, especially with women entrepreneurs, we see those things as our children. We see, so if our sales are not going well, or if we're not making the money that we think we should be making, we think it's something to do with us. and it may not be a good period in that time, because the same thing that happens to us happen to everybody else. So I teach them things about their credit. How do you find sustainability with your credit? How can you repair your credit? What are things you can do? Because the credit is something that you need when you're running a business, or just if you're running your household, because the things like insurance, what we pay, people don't realize if you have bad credit, it affects how much you pay on your insurance, because when you go to an insurance place, they run your credit. Whether you get into an apartment or a house, you buy a house, whether you rent or own, guess what they do? They run your credit. So I teach people to begin to dominate the aspects of their life that they can control, because I believe that 90% of what happens to us is all about how we react to it. So we control 90% of our lives. The 10% are things like, health situation or things in the weather and stuff. That's the things that we cannot control. Do it affect the 90%? Yes. But if we get control of our mindset, despite the booms in life, we can still push our victory. This is what I teach.
Awesome. Wow, that was a great explanation. Now, is that what you bring to the book, or do you tell a personal poverty story?
Well, what I do is in the book, I tell a personal poverty story. I mention about when I first discovered poverty. And it seems kind of weird because I grew up in a public housing, but because we weren't in lack.
Right.
Because we were actually staying in public housing, but my great-grandparents who raised me, my great-grandmother was 74 years old, and she was taking care of me at 5 months, and my sister 1, and my great-grandfather was 85 years old. And they were living in some apartments, and when they originally moved there, it wasn't a bad area. It wasn't a bad area. They were just moving. So, and generally they had a lot of elderly people, and then sometimes things change. Sometimes places build apartments and they may have it for general type of people, and then income or whatever, and then it changes because they want to make sure that they fill the apartments up. And that's what they did. So they started accepting no and low income, so, but they never moved because, I told you their ages. And that older people get settled and they don't like to do a lot of moving. So they remain. But until we had our first boom, which was my great-grandfather dying, I didn't even know what poverty was and what are the effects, or the book called Smell of Poverty, but I call it a symptom of poverty. Like a disease, there's symptoms, there's smells, there's sights, there's images and stuff that you see, just like any other illness or whatever. So I share that. I share a couple of booms in my life, and what started my journey, my financial journey. How did I come about learning and knowing how to save and budget? I do share that story. Yeah, because when I was young, because of one of the booms in our life, I started looking for ways to be more independent. Mm-hmm. And in my search of independence, I discovered how to make money. Nice. I discovered how to save money. I discovered how to make my money stretch longer. Mm-hmm. So, but at that age, I did not know what that was called. And I did not have, I didn't have any books or any people around me that displayed that image. So I simply shared that story. I also share, it's two other booms in a life that caused, and at the end of the book, I share the fact, despite all that, I pushed through to my victory. I got my degree. I went and got more education, and I'm here today. I stand.
Awesome. That's amazing. So what appealed to you when you heard Shannon call for people to participate in this project? What was it that she said, if you can remember, that drew you to it?
Well, she kept talking about the smell of poverty in itself and what it was. It was the description that caused me to be a part of the book. Not only that, the fact that, I teach to push through victory, and that's one of the things that started my route to victory, is pushing through poverty. Yeah. And so when she started talking about, the odor, and sometimes about how sometimes people be in poverty and they can't afford to keep their clothes laundered, and sometimes you can smell it, and then the smell of carpets, it brought back a memory about when I first discovered poverty. And so I was like, okay, I got to share my story, because. And she started saying that each one of us had a poverty story, and all of us, our stories may not be the same, right? But it is an effect. So I had to participate in this story, because this opened up a lot of things. Because not only using this platform to share my story, it also it added more fuel to the fire, so to speak, right, in my journey. Right. And it made me look for other projects. Like, for instance, I'm trying to decide whether to go on a mission trip to Ghana. And it's a trip to help women and children in poverty and feed them. And if I go, I'll be teaching them about finances and how to overcome and stuff. But it all started with this journey. It all started off with stepping out on faith and becoming the person that God created me to be.
That's amazing. I love that. Now, Shannon, I have a question for you, because Jackie has just said how you have inspired her and you added fuel to her fire. Did you know when this idea came to you that it would have such an effect on people?
And again, thank you for having both of us here to talk about the smell of poverty. And as far as knowing if it was, and a lot of the time it's like, I don't really necessarily think about what it's going to do for someone else. It's more so, as we know, a lot of the things that we do, that we put out, it has to start within yourself first. And I know within my own self, I had a story that needed to be told, and as much as y'all see me as I done deem myself Miss I Go Live, I'm very conservative. And I'm very yes, I am. I am very much to myself. I could sit by myself and mind my own business. And I'm okay with that. I could be in this house by myself and I'll be fine. But I don't really share a lot. And that's one thing people say about me, that I don't share a lot. Because I don't, and I know I don't. Because I'm one of 6 children, so I'm real quiet and I sit back and I watch. But when I have something to say, you go here, and then I'm going to go live. But after that, I'm done. I don't say anything. So it started in me first, and I needed to get my story out, because I'm in the field of social work. I'm helping people and hearing stories all the time. But I knew I had a story too. And it was like, well, hey, I got a story. But I was just more so okay, doing what I'm doing for others is more important. And that's the thing that I think about, because that's the field that I'm in. But I needed to tell my story. So when I was sharing with everyone, I was sharing my story that I did not share before on social media. And when I shared it, dealing with the whole survive and thrive and looking for sponsorships, I shared it with the world. So I put it in the story. I knew that was going to be the first thing to start the fire in my own self, to get it out there to share, because I knew others had the same story.
Wow. And it's good because, for as long as we've known each other, as I've mentioned probably previously, this is a part I didn't know. This is what is, to, no pun intended, but like an onion. It's like you have layers. So right. That goes with the whole smell thing. But I'm saying it's another layer to Shannon that I can say, I know her more deeply now. I know more than just her health story. I know more than just her personal story. I know her as, someone who has experienced poverty like me, and maybe not in the same way, but we have another